It's December 10th, 2019, and it marks 2 years since my traumatic brain injury. I've taken the time to reflect today on what it means to be 2 years in recovery and what it means to have almost lost my life 2 years ago. And I want to thank everyone who supported me, supported the channel, my family first, my ancestors above, who I believe really kept me here on this earth and reminded me that it wasn't my time to join them. And I really just thank everyone who's subscribed to the channel and keeps me grounded and keeps me in a positive place where I can talk about my troubles in recovery, but as well as just the joy that I have being alive and what it means to rollerblade after rollerblading almost took my life away from me. And to all my TBI survivors out there, I just want y'all to know that every year we celebrate an anniversary after our injury. We celebrate a year more of life. Yo, what's up, Blading on the Brain? It's your boy, Kenneth Scott, back at you as always. Hashtag upgrade your gray matter. Let's all make sure that our lives and our brains matter. So the coolest part about being on YouTube and working in this creative space is that I get to reflect through the videos that I made. So I actually took the time and watched a bunch of my old videos. If you follow me on Instagram at Blading on the Brain, you definitely know that I celebrated 2 years of recovery post my head injury over at Berkeley Skate Park while just doing a regular soul. So I figured what better way to reflect and bring in the new year than bring it back to the essence. I'm back out here walking my dog in the spots where I did a lot of videos in the early parts of Blading on the Brain. So I basically have my last 2 years documented on a video journal right here on YouTube called Blading on the Brain. And I actually took the time to sit back and watch a lot of my favorite videos. Wanted to shed some light on those videos that maybe don't have a lot of views or are back in the day when many of you subscribers hadn't been a part of the channel. So I wanted to highlight the last 2 years of footage, what I've learned, and how I've grown as a person, and not just my hair, but how I've grown as a person, and some videos that you might want to check out as we go into the new year that reflect on what I've learned in the past 2 years. In reflecting as we're about to enter 2020, I wanted to bring to you guys the top 10, I guess, in my book, the top 10 TBI related videos that Blading on the Brain has made in 2019. And what I wanted to bring to you most importantly were the lessons that I've learned, how it's helped me grow, how I feel like those are videos that can speak to everyone. They can speak across the board to not only my rollerbladers who like to see my skating content, I'm not gonna lie, I need to get out on the blaze, also to my TBI survivors, my people who are recovering from, ankle injuries, my people who are struggling with depression, my folks in the community who understand what it's like to go through the crucibles of life, come out on the other side a better human and with more understandings and just more empathy for all. And so I wanted to break down to you guys 10 of my favorite videos as I looked back on all of the Blading on the Brain journals. It's basically my life post TBI has been reflected here on YouTube for you all to see. So thank you for watching. As always, if you like these videos, give it the thumbs up. Subscribe, please. We're almost to 1,600. That's incredible. I can't believe we could be to 2,000 by the time we get to year 2. That would be amazing. So please subscribe and share these videos with your friends, especially those who are maybe back to blading, haven't bladed in a long time. I did take 6 months off. I did have to come back from a lot of ailments like not having a full sense of balance. I mean, I still don't have taste. So it's all about how do you move on? How do you stay resilient? And I wanted to bring you guys 10, starting with, and this is a really special start off. Right away, I wanted to show you guys what it was like to be in TBI recovery. I wanted to explain it to you what it was like for me right after I got out of the hospital and what it was like to get home after a week of being in basically the ICU and under heavy surveillance, as I thought. And who better to tell that story with me than my boy Brian Kranz. Many of you follow him on Instagram at Citizen Kranz. You know the Rocktown podcast. And so what we did was we did a swap cast. I did it on video in 4 parts, and he did it as a full release on his podcast channel. And we really dove deep. So check these videos out. These are 2 friends who have known each other for 10 years, who have been through a lot of experiences that we didn't realize were so similar. Mr. Kranz, thank you so much, because this is that moment from when I hit my head to him getting me into the emergency room, through the whole ambulance process, and me being in fight or flight, post head injury, post seizure. Watch these videos. Perfect. Welcome back to Blading on the Brain, YouTube. In this episode, I'd like to introduce you to a series known as the Rocktown Swapcast. My good friend Brian Kranz invited me to come and sit down and unpack with him the story of not only my traumatic brain injury, but that of his own. If you'd like to listen to the entire podcast in one run, please check out bladeordie.com or the Rocktown Podcast on iTunes or Stitcher. I hope you really enjoy the laughs of this part one and check into the rest of the series here on Blading on. So those videos like break down the story. There's some loopholes. My wife did clarify a lot of those. Thank you, Karen, as always, for being there with me. Not only her and Claire, both our wives were there for us to support us. And I can't even express to you how important it is to know that I have the support of my wife. But after that, I took a trip to New York. I headed back home. First to stop in Maine. We'll get to that video. But then I got word that my boy, one of my brothers that I've known for years, 20 years almost here in the Bay, I got shot in the head. And I made a video. I was talking to a gentleman in New York City, in Brooklyn, and he was a YouTuber. Shout out, check out his channel. And he told me, you got to ride the wave. If something motivates you to make a video, just make that video. And so I reached out to everybody that I knew who knew Rob G. And I said, Joe, we sending love to Rob G so that he knows that he's taken care of and that all the karma he's put out in the world is going to come back to him 100-fold. And let's just celebrate that as we go into the new year. So this was sending love to Rob G. It was my first video to ever get over 1,000 views. And it was super, super meaningful to me, and it gave me purpose. For a moment in there, I was swirling, and we'll get to how I was swirling, but mentally I was swirling. I was in a really tough place, and to have this purpose, this guiding light, to just shed love and spend all my energy in bringing love to Rob, it set me on a beautiful path, so check that out.
What's up, Rob? I love you, brother. It's a damn shame what happened, man. But with all the love and support around the whole world, including from myself, I just want to tell you that we're here for you. We're wishing you a quick, speedy recovery. And we can't wait till you get back home here to the Bay Area so we can hopefully see you soon and just make sure that your recovery process goes great, man. All right, can't wait to see you. I love you, brother. GSF.
Rob G, what's good, man? Just want to tell you I love you and wish you a quick, speedy recovery.
Fresh off of the 2K views, I was living life. I was like, I had gone through the ups and downs. I was riding an emotional high, and I put on the blades. And I got with my crew, my JSF homies. We went over to Emeryville Skate Park, and I shredded for the first time. Full of emotion, full of fear. My family was at home, scared, I'm sure to death. Even watching that video, I remember my wife, just every time I fell, cringing inside and outside, physically and mentally. I could see the strain it was putting on her to just see me back on blades. But I was just willed by the power of the community to throw back on my skates. And so I got back on blades, and I think it was like 9 months post-injury, somewhere around there. And it was probably the biggest breath that I had post-injury. When I say that it was a weight lifted off my shoulders, you gotta understand, rollerblading is my thing. I've done it forever, and to think that it almost cost me my life and almost took me out, but I still love it, and I still wanna do it, and it's still a part of who I am. So for a long time, just to think that like it was taken away from me, that I wouldn't be able to ever do it again, was crushing. And so to put the blades back on, to feel the exhilaration, to do the grinds, to slide, to fall, to get up, to know that I was gonna be able to survive this. Truly liberating. So check out Freedom. Yo, Blading on the Brain, you're witness to the history. First day, back on blades. 8 months and like 20 days, and there I am, boom, rolling. See it? Oh, about to hit this though. What? Oh, with the cam on the selfie. Oh, what your boy about to selfie? That's what I'm saying. First day back. get back on the move because it's a little cold out here in the Bay Area. So we're gonna move a little bit, pardon the bounce. I don't got the gimbal out today. I'm just out walking, like I said, walking with the dog. Following the ups are downs, and before the ups are usually downs when you're dealing with any type of mental illness or mental health issues. And I've never had anything like depression. I've never had experience with debilitating lack of motivation that it can create in a person. And before making the video for Rob, I had my first dealings with depression and mania ever in life. And it was very much a part of my symptoms, like how I am recovering and being resilient after my TBI. And so I put out this video about being in Maine and being black in Maine and how race and just the attention, the stimulus that I was getting because I was black in Maine really drove me to a tipping point. And through the graces of my wife, I was able to feel safe to be vulnerable in her presence and really talk about what I was feeling. And for the first time, it brought me to a place of sincere empathy for all of those who deal with depression, who have lived their lives understanding the weight that depression has on people's lives is like, it's a whole new feeling for me, and I'll never be the same. And so check this video out. It's probably a more controversial topic because I talk about race, but I can't help it. I'm black, and wherever I go, I'm black, and it's different in every instance. But in Maine, it was a little hard to deal with. So check out what it's like when you're black and you're in Maine and you got a TBI. You're here. That's scary, and so I took that opportunity to speak loudly for everyone to hear. Everyone in that valley, everyone in that forest, I wanted them to hear me loud and clear, and I wanted to be as aggressive as I could. And what's most challenging is that, then I listened to Mortal Man, and I got to Mortal Man, and I started to cry. And I'm gonna cry now because that's when I got real depressed, because then I started feeling like, what's all this grandiose behavior? What's this desire to like seek attention and put your foot firmly in the ground if, like, in the end, you're just sad. Like, like you're mad, but you're more frustrated. I sat for a while solo. Wow, blading on the brink. It got cold and it got dark outside, so I had to move this party inside, back into the lab where, honestly, it's not that much warmer. It's still pretty cold in here. That's why I gotta always wear nice, heavy layers. What I was saying before was that we are going on a journey recapping some of my favorite episodes over the last year in Blading on the Brain that talk about TBI recovery and what it means to come back from a traumatic brain injury. Check them out. Like, subscribe, thumbs it up, leave comments down below. Did it speak to you? Do you understand the content? Is the content not even relevant? Or do you just want to see skating? Let me know. I'm really trying to cater this channel to my viewers, but also have a strong message around traumatic brain injury and what it means to come back from it and be a resilient warrior / TBI survivor. I really have enjoyed about this experience and doing these videos with you guys and bringing this content to you all is that it's really celebrating life. So I celebrate every day that I wake up. It may be a little slow, but I celebrate. And when we got to 365 days post-injury, I definitely wanted to celebrate. And so a day earlier, I got out with some of the JSF homies, and we went and had a session at Fremont Skate Park. It is weird, because weird things are happening over there. But today's an interesting day, because it's December 9th, 2018? And I just randomly, hit up the homies and was like, yo, who's trying to skate? And Be Free and Gumby and some of the fellas were trying to come down and skate. And so we linked up, we were about to link up, and I realized, yo, it's a year. Like, legit. 1 day away from a year from when I sustained my TBI, when my life changed for the better, I'll tell you honestly, but it's a pretty emotional session. Hopefully that'll go down. I only have 30 minutes. These dudes want to come all the way out here to Fremont Skate Park. And then, of course, I left when I said it's time to go, and how bladers be lagging, so they a little bit further behind. Part of celebrating life in 365 days post-injury is also celebrating some new achievements and some really amazing milestones. And this past year, I got a chance to travel over to Seoul, Korea, where I was there for work-related business. I was there to talk about computer science education in America. So while I'm there and I'm under a very heavy schedule and everyone's kind of holding our hand and making sure that we get everywhere and that we're treated super well, but also it's a little bit intimidating to be on such a tight schedule where I had maybe like 10-minute breaks to run back to the hotel and get myself ready for the next event or the next speaking engagement. A Trip for the Soul, a 3-part series, really chronicles my time leaving home. Really the first time traveling overseas post-injury, being away from my family that long of a distance, plus you add the difference in the time zones, and so it became a real burden to just even talk to my family and get constant check-ins and make sure I said goodnight to the boys before they went to bed. And you add on to that the extreme pressure and stress that I was under to not only represent myself and my country overseas, but to come across as someone who's really an expert in the field and stay organized and on top of my agenda, which was jam-packed with speaking engagements and panel discussions. Oh, add K-pop everywhere and lights and sounds, and it was a TBI experience. A little different being black in Korea than it was being black in Maine, and so, you know, a lot came up in these episodes. So check these out. I think this 3-part series about going to Seoul is really worth seeing. What is it like for someone who's post-TBI, dealing with a lot of issues around sensory input and having too much input and overstimulation? Go and handle probably the most neon place I've ever been to. I mean, like, literally. Neon, doo-doo-doo-doo-doos, K-pop everywhere. Deep into the battles. Oh, got you in the selfie. Where are we? What are we doing?
We're finding out how to build stores and factories for kids.
Kids need factories. This is where we were, though. We were deep in the belly of Samsung. I don't know that foreigners have been this deep in the belly. Oh, look at that. There we are. Crazy day. Just left Samsung. Yeah, Korea's no joke. Buildings are huge. It's a crazy trip today. About to get back on the bus. So that was day 1. We did a lot. For people who arrived at 5 a.m., we took a tour. So when you come back from overseas and you've had this incredible adventure, this wonderful time, it's kind of imperative that you take a step back and you really become aware of your growth. In TBI recovery and this moment of being resilient in the face of so many challenges, it is always good to reflect. In one of my favorite videos, I just took the time to really talk, express. What am I feeling? What am I doing? How has it been? And what has been the most helpful for me? I actually feel that this video, being aware of TBI, is applicable for everybody. My TBI survivors, my people in recovery for other physical ailments, my community who deals with mental awareness issues, right? I think this video speaks to everyone. It's really about how do you interact with your fellow community members when you don't know what they're going through and you don't know all the challenges that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So for me, being TBI aware meant that I could share that with everybody, because not only do I know what's going on, but I'm aware enough and reflective enough to be able to talk about it. And so being TBI aware is my chance to just speak my truth, speak my learns. And it was amazing. I also talked about the power of running and how important to me being on a new routine, something new, a new challenge, a new physical challenge was in my recovery. I had just started running again. It had been years since I had thought about running or thought I'd enjoy running, and since it has been a wonderful meditative state. Running is a place where you have to push yourself. You have to push yourself not for anyone else, but just for you. And in TBI recovery, I feel like I'm constantly pushing myself to grow and get better, and it's, yes, in part for my family, and yes, a major part from my work, but also it's a reflection of myself and wanting to get better every day and wanting to celebrate in the big wins and some of the little step backs. And so running has been the same. When I want to run fast, I can run fast, but maybe not for long distances. But I have to push. If I want to run long distances, I have to figure out how fast do I want to run and push myself. And I'm constantly pushing myself. So being aware of TBI is also being aware of the ways in which you're resilient in the face of these challenges due to TBI. And so in my traumatic brain injury history, running is going to be a huge chapter, and it still is. And today I got out and ran my first 3 miles in months, and I ran it under 30 minutes, and it's amazing. I feel so strong, and I feel so gifted and blessed to be able to wake up every day and do something I love and have the support of my family, and it's different. It's not just rollerblading anymore. I have found new things to take the place physically of what I loved in rollerblading. Shout outs to the Nike Run Club. If you're on Nike Run Club, NRC, hit me up in the comments below. Let's motivate each other to run. I have found running to be one of the most soothing parts to my recovery process. It really is like a calming, peaceful place, and I do have to push myself all the time because, you know, I'm not a runner and I run here in the hills, and it's like the other day I had a 350-foot grade elevation just on like a 1 mile run. So to do that and stay focused and really like push myself takes a lot of effort, mental exercise. And so try running. It has been really, really transformative for me. It has really helped me to once again channel that inner power, that inner strength that just keeps me going all the time when I go through rough patches, because I'm at the phase now where I told you guys about the waves, right? I said earlier, it goes up and it comes down. You saw it with the racing TBI issue that I was on a raging high, followed right after by a supreme down, and then the news of Rob hit, and I came back up, and I skated, and I came down, and I went up, and I came down, and it all came back around in February. And in February, I hit a major down. And this video, OUSD Strike Mentality, was my attempt to make a statement. This was a statement that wasn't politically charged. This had nothing to do with who was right, who was wrong, who's hiding money, our charter's bad, none of the rhetoric that you'll hear. This was simply about how hard it was on somebody who fought the doctors, fought everybody's best intentions to get back into my classroom a year before. So you have to put it in context that a year prior, I was just coming out of the hospital, just getting through therapy, and really pushing my doctor to let me back into my classroom where I felt my whole self. And I wanted desperately to feel my whole self again, to feel like me. And then you fast forward a year and teachers are walking off the job that I fought so hard to get back into. And it brought a lot of feelings. And it really bubbled up in this episode because I just grabbed the camera one morning and decided to just speak my truth. This video has been seen by members of my blading community, family, and even the superintendent of OUSD watched and shared my video. I think it speaks to the fact that there's a lot more going on than just political rhetorics when we decide to make a big stand and we put kids at the front line of that stand. This was a pretty intense video, and I really want to share more videos like this where it really puts the spotlight on what mental health issues really look like and what those who are dealing with depression face on a daily basis, and how microaggressions really do take their toll on you when you're doing everything in your power to keep it together. OUSD Strike Mentality. It was followed up by a lot of rollerblading because that's ultimately what I needed. Hey, good morning, Blading on the Brain. It is Friday, I think March 1st. And there goes Black History Month in education. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do this. I don't do this very often. This is kind of like an impromptu journal of sorts. We are now a week from last episode where I sought relief through blading, and the strike still continues. And while blading provided me momentary relief, and that was great, thank you to our homies from JSF, it's been another week of real hard choices. And on Friday, it got really personal and it got really hard. So fresh off the heels of the strike video, there was a lot of buzz in Oakland around my statements, and I felt, I want to say pretty good that I didn't offend too many people. To be honest, I'm really black and white these days. And I really just wanted to say y'all are right and y'all are wrong. But that's not the point. The point wasn't about right or wrong. The point was about how I was dealing with it or actually not being able to deal with it. And so afterwards, my favorite OT, my wife, and I sat down to unpack some of those feelings, to really sit down and look at what depression looks, feels, sounds, I guess kind of even smells like when you're going through it. And so in unpacking depression and TBI and ABI recovery, I sat down with a professional. I'm lucky. I have a trained professional in my house who knows about neuroscience and brain recovery and therapy, and I don't know any of that. And so we sat down and we talked. We talked about some of the strategies like note-taking and other strategies that I've been using to deal with the stress and the associated mania and quickly associated depression. It's been really eye-opening these last 2 years. I have a ton of understanding and empathy for everyone who deals with depression on a daily basis. It's not something I've ever dealt with, and I never thought I would. And it's not to say that I thought I was above or different. I've been fairly happy my whole life. But in recovery from my brain injury, there's a lot more ups and downs. And so it was really awesome to sit down and unpack with a real professional. So for all my TBI survivors out there, this is a conversation with a real professional about what depression looks like. We go through on a day-to-day basis as we ride this wave of recovery and resilience. It's a pretty amazing and impactful episode. That video was really hard to watch again. I think every time I watch it, I definitely cry in the moments where I can feel the heightening of the sense of awareness, like me like elevating and escalating and going up and down. When I feel those moments, I'm like, wow, that was real. That was really real.
So like even watching your emotional experience triggers some of that same emotional experience.
Yeah, it really does. I feel like I'm in that moment. That's the joy, I guess, of doing this, is I get to see it again. And hopefully you guys, when you watch it, brings you some awareness and some understanding of like what's happening with people who have this invisible injury. So the first thing I talked about was the headphones. Because it's like, last but not least, in this rundown of my favorite TBI episodes, it's another conversation with my wife. And this one was brought by one of my favorite subscribers. It's not to say that I have a favorite, but like Lord Brian been there from the beginning. I've known Lord Brian for years, and understanding his family story is like, it's like seeing what strength and power and what family can really bring to save a young man's life, to keep a young man feeling like empowered and like a superhero as they fight one of the scariest battles that any of us could ever think about fighting. And so Lord Brian reached out, put a question down in the comments, and I to be honest, I say all of y'all do this. If you got a question for me, throw it in the comments. What I love most about this episode is that it came from the community. It came from you all. So this episode is all about normalizing memory loss, because my injury is frontal lobe. It's all up in here. It's all in organization. It's all in like short-term memory. It's all in like, those other senses that I don't have so much, like smell and taste and double vision sometimes and really bad peripheral vision. Shout out to the homie who mentioned in one of my videos that I have a different or maybe even a hard time skating obstacles on my left side. And I really do, because my depth perception is totally different now out of my left eye, because my skull fracture actually goes through my left orbital and somewhere out over here. This episode is beautiful. This episode is about community. This episode is about taking something that seems like a heavy burden and just taking it down a notch. Understanding that everybody deals with memory loss, whether you're young or old, whether you're head injured or not. We all have to use tools. We all have to figure out ways to compensate, to stay organized. This is no different. And so for me to talk to my wife about really what it means to suffer from memory loss and then adjust and recuperate and live, it's beautiful. And the fact that it came from you, Lord Brian, and it came from the community of Blading on the Brain, that's what I love most. And so that's what I really want to do more of, is bring videos that are inspired by your questions related to the OUSD strike. And in that video, I asked the question, if you had an occupational therapist that you felt comfortable talking with, what would you ask them?
So we got a question from your friend Brian,
We sure did.
and it was about his son.
Yeah, so props to Lord Brian. Check the video for the comment. It's embedded in my question. Oftentimes I'll ask the whole group a question and then I'll pin it to the top. So if you ever see me pin something to the top, like after this video, I'll ask, what are some other follow-up questions you may have? But Brian is a dad. He's a blader. He's a homie from New York. He's a subscriber. And his son, Iron Boy, is a champion for what it looks like to be a resilient young man. What do you want to see? What do you want to know about? What are you dealing with that maybe we have a similarity? I might have talked to it in one of these videos that you see here today. Like I said, check out these videos. They're really informative. They're also just a moment to get a glimpse of what it's like to be in the mind of someone who's had a traumatic brain injury. Blading on the brain, we're about to step into 2020. I know, as a late 70s baby, this sounds crazy to even say. I am so proud, not only of the progress that I've made, the support that my family has been able to give me throughout these 2 years, but of what I've been able to share with you all. And so this little trip down memory lane was just a way for me to share more, to tell you more of the story that you might not have seen. There's a lot of blading, and there will be more. I love to blade. I do have blading on the brain, as I hope you do too. But I learned to upgrade my gray matter. I learned a lot about what it means to be a human who's impacted by a lot of other factors, physical, mental, and more. Let's not forget the emotional. Blading on the brain, thank you. I love you. Much love and appreciation. As always, subscribe, like, thumbs it up. Leave me some comments. Share these videos. Send them out to your friends. I'm going to post this one on my traumatic brain injury community webpage over on Facebook. That group has always supported me too. And so I want them to know that I make videos that speak about what we go through as well. Share this. Take a moment, watch some old videos, learn more about me and my progress apart from blading. Last week I showed you that I gained some skills on the blades back, but also gained some critical life skills that I'm sharing with you today. Thank you, Blading on the Brain, and as always, peace, love, upgrade your gray matter. I'll catch you in a week.